I think China poses the most real threat that exists. And that's not just me. That's actual written assessment from across the United States military intelligence community and policy network, right? Everybody views China, in the United States, everybody views China as the next great threat. And it's a great threat not necessarily because of missiles and guns and aircraft carriers. It's because of its economic power. In the United States, we have enjoyed being the prime economic superpower for decades. Nobody's even close. Meanwhile, in the top 5 or so, China has slowly been climbing up the ladder. Japan used to be number 2, now China's number 2, right? So if you can imagine, the gap between first place and second place is getting smaller every year. Well, whenever you're the first place person in a race and second place starts to catch up, you start to psych yourself out. You start to wonder, can I keep this up? And then the rest of the world is watching even more intently because somebody might be the new number 1. And that just gives them more opportunity, more advantage. And even if at the end of the year, at the end of the race, you're still first place and they're still second place, but they got closer to winning, they have more opportunities, you have less opportunities. They have more friends, you have less friends, right? That's the nature of competition. The reason China is a threat is because they're catching up economically. They're catching up in terms of global influence. Yes, they're also catching up militarily, et cetera, et cetera. The Taiwan issue is really just an indicator along the path of how far ahead the United States really is. Because if China finds a way to take Taiwan, and I believe they will find a way to take Taiwan, whether it be administratively, militarily, or socially, right? In many ways, they made their first move in January of this year because the KMT, like China Unification Group, is who controls their Congress.
Who controls Taiwan's Congress?
After the elections.
Yeah.
All of that came about as a result of a massive influence campaign from mainland China that started well before October, but was heavily reported on in October. So even though people celebrated the fact that it was a pro-independence president, the whole fucking Congress is pro-China. Imagine, like, what does that tell you about the country? That country is split too, right? The control of the day-to-day legislation wants unification. The control of the executive wants pro-independence. That doesn't sound like a Taiwan that has made up its mind yet. But in the West, all we hear about is the pro-independence and Taiwan making closer ties to the United States. The reason that we have a CHIPS Act in the United States, the reason that we're bringing chip production domestic is because we think that Taiwan's going to remain independent? No, we're hedging our bets against it. And the reason that Taiwan is building more, or TSMC is building more plants in other countries, is because they know it's just a matter of time.
Freedom! So fresh, son. Freedom!